People often think that when you start the journey, it'll just come to you when you start posting a few times a week. But you have to play the long-term game. You have to be consistent and you have to put yourself out there. When I say consistent too, I don't mean post every day for the rest of eternity. Find a solution that works for you. For me, that's 3 times a week. I'll create 3 reels, post them, and that's my sweet spot. I know I can't do any more. And sometimes I'll do less if I'm super busy. And I've been doing that for 4 years. It gets tiring. That's the commitment you have to make if you want to grow on social media.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the First 100 podcast. This is the podcast where we're going to be exploring the journey of entrepreneurs, business owners, agency leaders, and so many more interesting people as they share with us the strategies, the challenges, and the triumphs that have led them to secure those first 100 customers, first 100 followers, first 100. I'm your host, Daniela, and let's go check this out. Today, I'm joined with a very special guest, Kristy Campbell. We're very happy to have you today. Good day.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate, you having me on your podcast. I love doing these. So I'm all about chatting about business, social media, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So the reason that we actually wanted to have you on the podcast is just because we had been looking at your social media. You know, we do obviously a lot of influencer work, but we really enjoyed what you do with graphic design. Obviously at Penji, you know, we do graphic designs ourselves. And I think your style specifically really fits so well with our brand. And it's just been really exciting to sort of have a conversation with you, talk about how you do your business. You know, what would you think that is important for social media and design things related, and just having you in the show talking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Social media is such a big topic and I feel like I'm super passionate about it. So to give everyone a bit of a backstory if they don't follow me already, I basically started my business 4 years ago in 2020. And prior to starting it, I actually was at a previous job working for somebody else. I was really bored in that job. I was working for a one brand business. I designed in the same colors and the same fonts for 2 years in a row. Like, I was really creatively drained. So I was sort of thinking, like, what can I do to spark and reignite that creative spark? So I actually set out to do a 100-day design challenge, and I decided to use Instagram as a way to keep myself accountable. So I just used Instagram to post every design every day that I did. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't go into it thinking I could turn this into a business. When I started posting, I started gaining a little bit of traction and people were interested. And, you know, nothing crazy, no crazy numbers. It was literally just, you know, like a couple of hundred people that were interested. But then I eventually got a few people sort of asking me, hey, look, I love what you do and I love your design work. Can you design me a logo? So that's when a sort of light bulb went off in my head and I decided that I should give this a go and start a business. So that's when in 2020 I started Pink Pony Creative. And since then, I've grown it into an agency. I've got a team of 6. We work with clients all over the world. I have now become like an international speaker. I fly to America and speak at events, which is amazing. And I've secured these really awesome opportunities. And I also have passive income streams all through social media. So I'm a big believer that social media can completely change someone's life. And it's about having that network of people and just having the ability to connect with others, no matter the size of your audience. It doesn't matter the size. It's as long as you're getting yourself out there and connecting with these new people, because that is where the opportunity lies. So it's pretty amazing. I'm a big lover of social media.
It does sound amazing. I think social media has really come to just change the game, especially for a lot of creative people. I think before the social media sort of changes happened, there were not a lot of outlets for creative people to sort of channel all of that in. It was a lot more traditional, I guess, and focused towards, you know, the corporate side or, you know, commissioning work. And commissioning work is great, but like you said, you know, it can kind of kill your creative process. So I think it's great that you were able to sort of create something on your own with great tools such as social media, which is actually what I wanted to ask you about. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you faced as a person trying to grow on your social media, you know, trying to grow your platforms? And what do you think a person now would be facing if they were to try to start something similar to you?
Oh, so many things. I think one of the biggest initial fears that people have is just having the ability to put yourself out there and get yourself on camera. That is a really scary thing for a lot of people. And I've spoken to even friends of mine, or, even at speaking events, people come and ask me questions. And one of the biggest things is, I'm really scared to put myself out there, and I'm scared to put my work out there for people to basically, in a way, judge you, because that's what they're going to do, essentially. So it's trying to get over that initial fear. But I try to remind people that, we are all too worried about ourselves in a funny way. Stop worrying about what other people think if you can, and slowly put yourself out there, whether it's just posting a photo of yourself, on your story, being have a good day, or this is a new tool that I've been using, rather than just putting yourself out there, talking to the camera, which can be really intimidating. So just make those really slow steps to progressively become more confident on social media. I think that is one of the biggest things, is the scariness of being judged by other people. But in all honesty, totally. And it's one of those things, it's what if I told, if you're thinking about starting your social media journey and you're too scared because you're worried about what other people think, but what if I told you that social media, your phone is literally the door to the biggest opportunities that you could ever get in your life? Are you still going to tell me that you're scared about putting yourself out there? You really have no idea what can come out of it. So I would so recommend to people just start posting slowly and putting yourself out there in that way. That's definitely one biggest challenge. I think another one as well, people often think that it's when you start the journey, it'll kind of just come to you when you start posting a few times a week. But essentially you have to play the long-term game. It's a real long-term game. You have to be consistent, and no one likes that word because it means hard work, basically. So you have to put yourself out there, be consistent. When I say consistent too, I don't mean post every day for the rest of eternity. Find a solution that works for you. And for me, that's 3 times a week. I'll create 3 reels, post them 3 times a week, and that's my sweet spot. I know I can't do any more. And sometimes I'll do less if I'm super busy, but that's kind of the sweet spot. And I've been doing that for 4 years. It gets tiring, but that's the commitment you have to make if you want to grow on social media. So you really have to say to yourself, how badly do I want this? What is the purpose of why am I growing my account? I think that's another thing to remember, because if you grow your account to have followers, I think you're looking at it in the wrong way. You've got to grow your account for other purposes. So for me, I wanted to get a wider network so that I could work with more people. That was the main sole purpose of when I started using my Instagram. That was what I wanted to do. But yeah, there's so many other challenges I could definitely name, but that's, I would say, one of the top 2.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I think to talk about a little bit about the first one, I think you're only cringy until you're successful, right?
Yes.
It's only embarrassing when people are looking at you oh, she's trying to be an influencer and she has 10 followers, and then that's the embarrassing part. And then when you have 1 million, it's oh, she's so cool.
Definitely. Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too that you can't go through life worrying too much about what others think. Otherwise, you're never going to get reach your dreams. Yeah. There's a quote that's similar to that. And I think it's you have to embarrass yourself to do well and get somewhere. And there's another quote that I do love, which is opportunity dances with those on the dance floor. So, I mean, to put it, blankly, you have to put yourself out there and to get those opportunities in.
Yeah, and you definitely have to suck, right? You have to do really bad, do maybe some things that are not going to work out to see what sticks. I don't know, sort of try things out. You never know until you actually are going through the process and figuring out okay, this didn't work, this did work. I think talent
totally
takes you to a certain place, and then it's a lot of hard work and effort.
Yes, no, completely. I so agree. There is so many aspects of social media, whether it's posting the style of work you do, or maybe how you edit, or maybe it's how you speak in front of the camera, or even how you write captions. You're not going to be the best at it. I guarantee it'll be, very rare for someone to be very good at it when they start their social media journey. So you just have to know that you're going to progressively get better, and your skills are going to increase over time. You've just got to start, as they say.
Yeah, you just got to do it. Just got to rip the Band-Aid off.
Oh, definitely.
So, you mentioned that you're like posting 3 Instagram reels a week nowadays. Instagram is the platform that you focus on the most, right?
Yes, yeah, I use Instagram and TikTok predominantly. I pretty much post the same thing across both platforms. I know so many people who say that there's a different strategy for both platforms. Honestly, I don't have the time. I think, like, good on you if you can post 2 different types of content across the 2 platforms. But if you don't have the time like me, which a lot of people don't have time, I know there's, people with massive businesses who are doing some crazy stuff. But like, if you can repurpose your content, even if it's just posting the same thing over both channels, you're going to be reaching more eyes. So the biggest advice would be to just try and repurpose that content. You don't need a new strategy. You could repurpose the same content across Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest if you wanted to. Like, why not? Why is there rules around what you should post on certain platforms? I know they're speaking to slightly different audiences, but at the end of the day, if you can reach more people, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with like TikTok sort of joining in the game, it's really changed a lot. I think the way that social media has been operating, but I think with all of the other companies sort of coming in as competitors and doing short form, I think anybody that is going to sort of look at your content wherever it is that they are consuming it is a win situation, right?
Oh, completely. Yeah, it's a massive win. And it's, again, just reaching all of those like individual eyeballs, all those new people. Like, I would be surprised if most of my audience was the same on Instagram and TikTok. I think they are very different platforms. I know that. And even like is down to this factor that, even on TikTok, if I'm just scrolling TikTok, I often actually don't go to the, is it the For You? Oh, the For You page is like the random social media posts that come up. Then what is it? The friends or the followers. Yeah, the following. That's the word. Oh my God, clearly I don't actually scroll that much. That is like, no, do you sit on that page? I actually don't go on the following feed that much. I'm mostly on the For You page. So it's like TikTok, although you have followers, a lot of those followers probably aren't going to be rewatching your content. And I don't know, I could be wrong about that, but that's just my theory.
You're right. I don't usually go on the following too much either. I think TikTok operates more on like the viral video type of thing, like a random video and then another random video and more topic related algorithms than actually people. Whereas Instagram is more like your feed is people that you are following.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, the two of them are they're so different, but then also so similar in so many ways. Yeah. Like, I think they can be treated in a similar way if you don't have the time, that you can totally repurpose and share the same content. It is unusual. Like, I noticed that if a video does well on Instagram, that does not mean it's going to be the best video on TikTok either, and vice versa. They could perform really differently. So it's quite interesting seeing the two sides of that, I guess.
Yeah. And do you like working with Instagram more or TikTok more? Or is it like, do you feel like any differences? You are posting similar content to both of them? Or do you just feel like it's pretty much the similar, as like, the same experience for both?
Yeah, I think for me as a business now, as an agency where I have a team and I use social media for a lead generation purpose. So I need to use it to get clients. I find Instagram, the clients are a lot stronger, the leads are a lot hotter, they're more willing to convert than people on TikTok. I think it could be, again, because of the types of audiences. But in saying that, I've had some really awesome clients come through TikTok who have been incredible, and we still work with them today. So I guess it's just dependent on who you reach. Like, it really does matter who you reach. And I think also it comes down to like Instagram versus TikTok. Instagram, you do scroll your feed more where you're looking at people you follow. So I think if you're following someone, they're on, you're top of mind to them. Like, they're thinking about you, whether that's a client coming, they've looked at your page like, oh, I like her work, maybe I'll work with her one day. And then they're scrolling through Instagram, they see us again, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, well, maybe I'll work with her on this next project. And then again, and then they see your face again, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to inquire. I'm going to like turn this into an actual, service, and we're going to work together. So TikTok, on the other hand, I think if you you're scrolling, like we said, you don't necessarily sit on that following page. You're just on that For You page. So you're not going to be popping up as much.
I think also because right now TikTok tends to sort of gravitate towards more youthful audiences as well. So especially with business related content, or if it's a product or a service that you're promoting that's not necessarily targeted towards a very young audience. That's just a theory that I have.
Totally.
Yeah, probably I think the turnaround or the turnover of that is going to be lower than on Instagram, whereas like I think on Instagram we do find more ready to purchase audiences, right?
Yes, like that is it to a T. And a lot of people on TikTok, I think, they'll see a video and they'll be like, oh, can you design me a logo? And it's almost, they're implying it, can you do it for me for free? Or like, they must think that I do nothing with my time. Exactly. Yeah. Like I actually run a full agency and I have to pay people. I have to pay rent. I can't design free logos. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I definitely think I mean, I used to work at a different company before where they were sort of trying to like do more social media, and they were always trying to push Instagram. And one time I asked them, like, why are you guys not like focusing more on TikTok? Because I think it was 2022, 2021. So TikTok was like very, very hyped up at the time. And they were like, they were like, they catered a lot towards like parents and adults. So they told me that the likelihood of finding like parents and adults consuming that much content from them on TikTok was lower than Instagram, which is why they were sort of focusing more on Instagram. And I was like, wow, like I'd never really given it much thought because I was really young at the time as well. So I was just thinking with my like youthful brain.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic between the two. And I also see from like a business perspective, you see Instagram trying to be more like TikTok, and TikTok I think is on their own kind of like they're just doing whatever they want to do. But like you do see Instagram trying to mirror TikTok a little bit, which is frustrating because you're like, can you just be your own platform? Like we loved you for your authenticity, pride. Don't be like TikTok.
No, we stop trying to compete with everything is TikTok nowadays, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So you also talked about having an agency. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that, how did the agency come along? How does it blend with your social media? Does it, do you need to have like a team? Do you need to expand? Are you really busy with it?
Yeah. So when it was about a year into my business, and because my social media was like, my page was getting quite a lot of traction at that point, again, like nothing crazy. I probably had 4,000 followers, but I seemed to be getting a lot of people inquiring. I was just finding myself very stretched thin. I couldn't handle the workload. So I sort of thought, well, I might hire a contractor who just, worked 5 hours a week for me. And I did that, and that was going great. And then their workload started to increase. And I thought to myself, I think I'm ready to hire someone full time. But obviously that's a really big jump. Hiring someone full time is a big investment, especially when it's that first employee. It's a really scary thought because you're like, oh, wow, now I'm not trying to pay for my own lifestyle. I'm now trying to pay for someone else's lifestyle, the way they live. You're basically trying to help them pay their rent, their mortgage, whatever it might be. So that was a really scary thought. But I was very lucky that I have my dad who's very business minded, and my husband as well. He runs a business with his dad. And so I had their support, their knowledge. So I sort of, said to them, is this the right call? We did the math, the sums, and it was. And I decided, let's just go for it. Let's take the risk. And I hired my first employee. And then that was in 2021, maybe. And then I just continuously hired new people whenever I felt like the workload was getting too much. And now we've got a team there's me, I've got 4 full-time designers, and also a accounts manager as well. So, the teams, we're really busy, but we do rely on social media quite a lot for our lead generation, which is TikTok and Instagram. But now that we have, been around for a while and we've worked with quite a few clients, we are getting like a lot of referrals. We get a lot of people coming back for more work, which is really nice. Obviously, that's a great way to be because you can't solely rely on just one platform, especially when it comes to social media, because you, in a sense, you don't own those audiences. So you hear scary stories of people losing their, Instagram page and they've got like 500,000 followers, and you're like, oh, like that would be a sad day.
Yeah, you can't have all of your revenue and income dependent on these type of platforms, especially with how unstable it can be.
Definitely. So like it is, and I think we do rely on it quite a lot. So it is scary. And it's just one of those things you've just got to like keep going as well and try new things, especially when it comes to marketing.
But it sounds like you started this, fairly like soon. Like you started this about a few years ago and you're already you have a whole team behind you. You already are starting to get referrals. I definitely think that that's the type of thing that sort of grows with the years and as time passes and as you get more established. And I can only imagine that it's going to become a lot better as you keep growing.
Oh yeah. Like as a little girl when I was like 13, coming out of school and learning design, people would ask, like, what do you want to do with your life? And the dream was always to open a design studio, but I never actually thought it would come true. Yeah, I was like, oh, that would be amazing. Like that would happen. But then to have it actually happening and I have a studio space and I've got like pink walls and I've got a giant pink plastic horse that I can literally sit on and ride because he's so massive. Like that would just be wild to me in university if I'd said to myself, like, this is what I've accomplished. Like I wouldn't probably believe it. And I have to put it down to social media. I would not be here with all of this without social media. So it's a hard thing and you have to work at it and it is consistent and it is a lot of work, but it is so worth it for sure.
Okay, well, it's great to hear it. And I think it's great and inspiring for a lot of people who want to be doing what you're doing to see someone who's already gotten there and, who has grown so much about how their experience is. To end the call, I wanted to ask you if you have anything that you want to talk to us about or any platforms that you want to promote for yourself.
Oh, well, coming up like later in this year, we haven't quite released the full details yet, but I am part of 2 online summits. So if you are interested in graphic design or like visual identity design, which we do a lot of, so like branding work, I've got one summit coming up that I really dive into my process for branding and sort of how to create really bold, daring personalities for brands. And then I also am going to be teaching in another summit about how to create awesome mock-ups using AI. So if you're interested in that stuff, definitely follow along and keep an eye out for that. But and then the last thing that I am part of at the end of the year, I'm flying to Miami in America, and I'll be speaking at Adobe Max for the 3rd year, which is a really big conference, an Adobe conference. So I'm headlining there this year, which is incredible. Again, never thought I'd get that opportunity. So yeah, definitely follow along or come and join us if you're in Miami.
Well, definitely. I will be adding all of your socials to our podcast so that our viewers can see, they can go and they can check out your pages. Seems like a lot of exciting things are coming for you. So excited to look at, everything that you do.
Cool. Well, no, thank you so much, Danielle. It was lovely chatting to you.
It was lovely chatting to you too. So follow along as well for a podcast for any more marketing conversations with other guests. And that's it for today.